Hi, and welcome to Get Your Fears On podcast, where we dive deep into the mindset, strategies, and habits that will help you step into your most powerful self. I am Tiana, and my mission is to help you break through your limitations and create the success and confidence you know you are capable of. And today we are talking about the secret to unstoppable motivation and focus. You know that feeling when you start something new and you're fired up, you're ready to go, convinced that this time you will follow through and make it happen. And then what happens? A few days or weeks go by and that excitement is gone. Your new habits start slowly fading away. You start skipping workouts, delaying that project, or just losing focus in your business. I think we've all been there at least once or a few times. But why does this happen? It is not because you are lazy, and it is not because you lack discipline. It's because you were relying on motivation, and that is a terrible strategy. Today, I want to show you why high achievers and people who succeed in their goals, they don't rely solely on motivation, and how you too can build a system that keeps you moving even on the days where you don't feel like it. And if this topic is something that you enjoy listening to and you want to learn more about, please hit that follow button and help us reach more people. And if you find value in today's episode, please share it with a friend. Sharing is caring. So let's start with the hidden reasons why you keep losing that motivation. I want you to picture this. You wake up and you really don't feel like working out today. You tell yourself, I'll do it later. But later comes and suddenly the day's over and you never got around. Sounds familiar? Well, here's the truth. Motivation is an emotion, and like all emotion, it comes and goes. If your success depends on feeling motivated, you're always going to struggle to stay consistent. Your brain is just wired to seek comfort and safety. And every time you push yourself to do something challenging or something new, your brain will resist. And it's not because you're weak, it's because your brain prioritizes safety and ease. So what is the trick then? You have to stop making motivation a requirement. That is the whole philosophy. Instead, we want to make actions the default. So high performers don't feel like doing the hard stuff every day, or at all, to be honest. But they've trained themselves to show up and do it anyway. And that is literally the only difference between people who accomplish their goals and what they set to do from those who don't. The only difference. They're not smarter, they're not more motivated, they're not more talented. They have trained themselves. They've built a system that requires from them to show up and to do the things that they said they will do, even when they don't feel like doing it. I want you to ask yourself, what is one area of your life where you let feelings dictate your actions? Identify that area. We're going to start with one area and even journal what would happen if you took action regardless of how you felt. So that is your homework. Reflect on that question. And here's the key to staying consistent without feeling overwhelmed. How do you actually stay consistent when you cannot be motivated all the time? And I'm going to tell you a quick story. So there was a time when I would struggle to stay on track, and trust me, I still have those days. But I've learned to train my brain to think differently. One day I would be all in, and the next day I'll be too busy, too tired, and it just felt like I was stuck in an endless loop of start and stop cycle. I was trying to rely on willpower when I needed structure. So what changed? I made my actions automatic. I stopped making decisions in the moment and started planning in advance. Like this podcast, this was an idea for so long, but I would always come up with excuses, waiting for the perfect circumstances. But then I structured my week in a way that I know exactly which day and time I am planning the podcast, which day and time in my schedule is for when I record, and which time in my schedule is when I edit and publish. And in this way, I committed to non-negotiable actions instead of thinking, oh, do I feel like recording today? No, I decided in advance which actions are happening, when is it happening, in a way that fits my schedule. And that is the only way to keep myself on track. And here's a challenge for you. What is one action that you can make non-negotiable this week? I want you to write that down and make it happen. Identify how much time does this action take, break it down in smaller steps if you need to, and schedule those smaller steps in your calendar. And here's some signs of momentum and why it is more powerful than motivation. So I want you to imagine pushing a heavy car. So the hardest part is getting it to move. But once it starts rolling, momentum takes over and it becomes much easier. And this is exactly how motivation works. The hardest part is starting because your brain resists effort until you take the first step. And then suddenly it becomes easier to keep going because momentum releases dopamine. And every time you complete a small task, your brain rewards you. And that's why starting small and stacking wins is so effective. Your environment matters. If your phone is full of distractions, if your workplace is chaotic, if you're surrounded by people who don't push you, you will struggle. You need to set yourself up for success. So what is that one action that you can take today to build that momentum? Maybe downloading an app that will keep you away from other distracting apps that steal away your time. Or maybe it's removing some food in your fridge or cupboards that are keeping you away from your ideal weight. Whatever it is, I want you to identify that. And here is a 3-minute rule to overcome any hesitation. So if you take one thing from this episode, I want you to be this. Never give yourself more than 3 minutes to start, because the longer you wait, the harder it gets. Your brain will flood you with reasons why you shouldn't do it. Don't think, just move. Put your shoes on, open the laptop, make the call. Whatever it is, just take the first step. Because action is what fuels motivation. If you start doing something even for 3 minutes, chances are you're gonna keep going. And that's exactly how momentum is built. Don't believe me? Have you ever opened your social media feed just to check one thing or just for a minute? And then what happened? Half an hour or 2 hours later, you were still scrolling. The same way, you can start a good habit for just 3 minutes. Trick your brain to think that you will start something only for 3 minutes and see where the momentum will take you. So next time you hesitate, give yourself 3 minutes to start. No overthinking, just action. And here's a recap of what we went over today. First, that motivation is unreliable. Momentum is the key. Your brain resists discomfort. Don't ever let that stop you. Make your key actions non-negotiable. So I want you to use momentum to your advantage. Small wins create big results. And lastly, follow the 3-minute rule. Start taking action for just 3 minutes and see where the motivation and momentum is going to kick in. And if you take just one thing from today's episode, let that be that high achievers and people who succeed don't feel for motivation. They create the conditions for action. And now it's your turn. If this episode hit home, send me a DM on Instagram at Tiana Del Rey and tell me how you are implementing this. Let's grow together. I can't wait to see you in the next episode.